All right, thank you.
Wait, Peter, will this be recorded?
Recording in progress.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, so seeing 7 o'clock, I will call the meeting to order and I will start with a roll call. And I guess I'll just call names. I'll start with my family circus box. John Nadolski,
Present.
Joe Papalarzik,
Here.
Alex Bagnand.
Here. You nailed it.
Thank you. That was a guess. Tom Pereira.
Here.
And lastly, Ron Cole here. Third item on the agenda is approval of minutes dated December 7. I've had a chance to review them on the other screen, and I had no issues with them as they are. Can I hear anyone else have any questions, issues with the meetings as written?
Just, I was not there, so I won't vote.
Yeah, I reviewed them. I had no issue.
And Tom, you were here. And that would be it. So Tom, do you have any issues with meetings as written?
No, I don't.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve minutes dated December 7, 2022?
Motion to
Sure.
approve minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting on December 7th, 2022.
Okay, I'll second, and I'll do a roll call for those present. Tom Pereira.
Pereira, yes.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Vote Tom. Do you accept?
Oh, sorry, yes. Yay.
John Nadolski
Yes.
and Ron Cole, yes. So minutes approved. So next item on the agenda is discussion of the bulleted items below, number 4, which is this discussion of the position of Director of Public Works and deliberation on votes to include posting of position, job description, creation of preliminary screening committee, and delegation of the creation of questions. So anyway, I'll start with one of the discussion points that we had at our last meeting was the lack of clarity on discussions in the past of what the department was actually going to look like from a structure standpoint. And that being, were we going to leave the department within its current state of basically a director who then leads the two departments within Public Works, we'll call it. That being water, wastewater, and DPW as well. There was some discussion by both City Council and Executive Office as it related to potential of splitting those departments back out. Our reluctance to do anything within the last meeting was related again to the uncertainty of what the position would be. So I'm gonna pose the question to either potentially Ann or seeing the mayor's on as well. What the degree of confidence we have with what the structure of the department is going to be, because clearly we would like to know before we actually post a position that the person that we hire would actually be the leadership of the two departments as they stand today. I think that's a question that at least the folks that were on the call the last time had as it related to this discussion.
Ron, I don't know that I can that question for you. I mean, there hasn't been any change in the structure of the department. It is what it is right now. So I mean, I don't really have any other information.
And I'm comfortable with proceeding with that. And I'm comfortable with at least discussion of the next items on the agenda. But again, it comes back to this at least the board as it was before, wanted to make sure that the position that we were going to post is based on the job description that we have today. And we're gonna discuss that in the next item on the agenda. But I want to have absolute clarity that the job that we're going to post is the director job who would manage the department as it stands in structure today. Okay, and I see Mayor nodding, so. Okay, so let's go to the job description then. I made some notes on mine. So let me open it up to the group. I'm sure everyone has read the job, and in fairness to you, Alex, have you had a chance to read the job description, or do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy.
Alex, I don't know if I have your email address, so
If Annie has it handy, I emailed her the other day. She could fire it over to me.
yeah.
If not, I can.
And I'm working off of the job description dated 5/23/22. And do you have that, or do you?
I can pull it. It's going to take me a few minutes to pull it up, but I can certainly work on that while, if you guys want to discuss, I'll get that over to Alex as soon as I can.
Okay.
All right.
Can I get that as well?
Sure.
I haven't seen it in a while. Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, Joe. Yep.
Yep,
And
thanks.
could I get an
Likewise.
updated version of that as well?
Sure. I'll just blast it out to everybody, make it easier.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I had no material issue with everything down to education and experience. I felt that the job description does a very good job of kind of explaining what the role is, the duties, responsibilities, kind of from a scope standpoint of what the actual work is. I think probably where we need to spend a little bit of time is around education and experience. And it's actually probably the smallest part of it, but I think the most important as it pertains to our lack of candidates that we've had in the last couple of searches.
Ron, is this the job description? I'm guessing as written previously, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, I would agree. I believe that's probably the area to highlight, at least.
All right. I'm
First
going
here.
to, for Alex's benefit and Tom's benefit, I'm going to read education and experience as written today. I will then give my comments, but I'm going to start there. Bachelor's degree in civil engineering or chemical engineering required, master's degree preferred. Additional engineering disciplines or education in business management or public administration will be considered with requisite experience. No less than 10 years supervisory and management experience in a public works, wastewater, or water-related business or enterprise required. Last sentence, 5 years or more as a department head, executive director, or similar governmental experience with emphasis on municipal management desired. So, and before I start, my assumption is, Ann and or Mike, that we are going to, upon revision of this job description, it is going to then need to be approved by City Council before we can proceed.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I think where we've stumbled, or where we've at least had candidate challenges, is in the bachelor's degree in civil, environmental, or chemical engineering required. My recommendation would be bachelor's degree still is an absolute requirement. Let's see. Hold on. Bachelor's degree is absolutely required. with bachelor's degree. And I don't know, I would like to, because I mean, obviously the role of this is really a leader, a super, basically a department director. So clearly a business acumen would be an absolute minimum. So an absolute minimum would be bachelor's degree in business administration required, a degree in, and I would say a degree in civil engineering, chemical engineering, civil, environmental, or chemical engineering preferred, but not required. Let me stop there, because I think the rest of it, we do want to have some, we need some meat around the rest of it. But as it relates to degree, can I get a consensus from the group of what we feel is an absolute, a minimum entrance criteria from an education standpoint?
I'm not sure the business degree aspect of it is, I would say required. I would say preferred would be great, but many people that at least I've come in contact with who are in this position across communities, it's not my understanding they have business degrees. Many of them have engineering degrees or similar degrees. I think there's a broad spectrum of experience that can succeed in this role.
Mm-hmm.
I would even take it as far as a bachelor's degree would be preferred. And I know we've sent this to council multiple times and that hasn't flown, but I guess I'm not committed to even the bachelor's degree being required, right? It's obviously a really important position in the city, but we're not guaranteeing the job to anyone who doesn't have a bachelor's degree in any position or any degree field. So I realize that we've done this twice and it's gone to council twice and it's been rejected twice, with that preferred language in there. But I guess when it comes to the field that the degree would fall in, I think business is important, Ron. Absolutely. Engineering, I think, would also be applicable. Perhaps even environmental science. I think it's really the experience that will help drive home, who's going to be the good fit for the position.
And you should have received Dan's forward of the job description for.
Yep. Thank you.
Just received.
All right. John, Alex, Tom.
Yeah, if I could just voice my opinion here, I have to agree completely with what Joe says. I think that experience is the most important factor in deciding this. I think since we've tried to go before council, to put this before council twice, then obviously it needs to be put in that bachelor's degree required. There's no point in even trying to get it through again and just getting it sent back. But I mean, we're not hiring somebody who's 23 years old. I think that the candidate is going to have a wealth of experience. I think that's the most important thing, rather than what degree they earned when they were 21 or 2. That being said, I think that the subject matters that Joe mentioned, but I think experience should matter more. But let's put in the bachelor's degree required. And I like the environmental science that Joe mentioned as well.
And just one administrative question. Are you capturing minutes or notes or?
Yeah, we'll send the recording over to the DPW office and have them transcribe it into minutes, just like we did last time. I think that worked
Thank you.
before, so we'll do that.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom. Alex or John?
Yeah, I could jump in. I'm quickly reading the job description here, but you mentioned it right away, Ron. The first 2 sections here with the additional requirements and the duties and responsibilities, those spell out our expectation of this individual. Tom makes a good point. You're probably not going to be able to waive the bachelor requirement at this point with city council, but I'm not even adverse to just saying bachelor's degree required, not even putting a designation after it, because to me, the candidate pool is okay. They want a college education. That's fine. but we're really looking for the experience. So let's just set it at, you got your college degree. I don't care what it was in. If you've got 10, 20 years of experience doing something relevant that's going to be a benefit to Westfield, then we want to talk to you. So I it's either that we put in a huge list of relevant STEM or business fields that is 3 paragraphs long, if that's what they want to see, that covers everything, or we just drop the designation altogether and say, sure, bachelor's degree required, silent on that part. But we're going to hire based on the duties, the responsibilities, the experience that they bring, not the degree. So
Sorry to chime back in. Has anyone seen the city of Holyoke?
I was just going to mention
DPW
that,
director?
Joe. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I'm looking that up right now,
Yep.
and they found somebody in a relatively short period. I don't know this person's qualifications. Mass Live has a brief blurb on them, but I'd be interested to see what the job description was. And I'm sorry I didn't think of this sooner, around that position that they just filled within the
Rossi,
city.
right?
I'm not sure if, yep. Yeah, it's
He came out of I don't know what his degree is, and I'm sure we could probably find Holyoke's job description, but I do recall them specifically discussing that they worked hard with city council to revise their job description, like we're trying to do here. This particular individual, he may have had a technical background at one point, but his last 15 years was like managing a sports complex down in New Jersey. He was the operations director at the equivalent of Roots. And, so they're hiring him for his administrative skill set and to lead a department that had the technical folks elsewhere within the department, heading up the different divisions. So, that's the other tact here, I guess. And you've seen now a major municipality in our area pivot that way. So,
yeah, the article does mention he graduated from Rutgers, but correct, right? It lists his experience as director of public works for Tenafly in Englewood in New Jersey, as well as the director of operations for Sportsfield Soccer Club in Wayne, New Jersey.
So he had some experience, but I believe his more recent experience was that operations director piece. So
yeah, I heard the same. Yep.
John, I want to get your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with what Alex stated. I don't think we're going to be successful in removing the bachelor's degree requirement, but to make it a little broader, to open up candidates like perhaps this hire recently in Holyoke. I feel strongly that the strong management experience is a big component of this position. Obviously working with various levels of staff and just the general management experience is going to be key for someone to be successful in the position that we have currently. So,
Okay, I think we're all in agreement, just so we're clear, that the Annie from a degree standpoint it's a bachelor's degree, correct? We are all aligned that needs to be in there as a requirement. All right, so that would basically fulfill kind of the educational. I mean, do we want to have a preferred postscript on it from an engineering standpoint? We want to strike that all together.
I don't know if it impacts the decision regardless. We can definitely highlight it, but I guess I don't know how it impacts the candidate pool.
I mean, honestly, I would agree. I think the questions that we kind of asked in the last couple of interviews, or last couple of go-arounds on this, would lead us to understand what their experience is, what they have for a background, what they have for licensing, all of that. And I think it's going to give us a pretty good idea of whether or not the candidate is suitable for what we want. So,
Agreed.
does that include master's preferred still after the bachelor's?
I don't think it needs to be.
Like, I don't think that needs to be in there. To me, I'm it's probably unfair to say, it is unfair to say, but to me, that's not even necessarily the right person. You know, if you're talking about an MBA, you're talking about somebody who's focused on management, but if you're talking about a master's in engineering, you're talking about a more technical person.
Right.
And we're looking for, you know, somebody with that leadership and administrative skill sets.
Right. Well-rounded skill set.
Yeah.
I'm
Agreed.
Alex, I'm buying what you're selling from an MBA. An MBA is probably desirable.
Yeah, that to me is an option, right? Especially if there's some background. Well, definitely if there's some background, but you know, that's an option, and that's somebody who could lead an organization. But that the MS, the Masters of Science, that's not this position. That's
I agree, and probably going to be a strong candidate. I do like, and I kind of scripted this a bit myself, and I said no less than 10 years supervisor experience in an operations management role with union experience required. I don't necessarily, we do want, I think some level of union experience is going to be desired. I think we could get that out of the interview, but I like the at least you're going to pre-screen candidates based on, again, and that's where I think, Alex, you hit on it, experience in an operations management role. I mean, that's what we want as an operator. We want somebody that's led people. So to me, those are the key attributes that we want to make sure we're getting, because some of one of the candidates we had 10 years experience, but had never led people.
Right.
That we have to have a people leader in this role. I mean, that needs to be a requirement. So people leadership needs to be one of the bullets in here in the education and experience that will separate the wheat from the chaff, call it. So I don't know how we want to script that, but that, and I'm not going to fall on the sword over union, because we can get that out of questions, whether or not they've led union, and that, I think that would probably, but we do want something about a minimum, because if we're going to bring in somebody that doesn't have experience within this kind of work, they damn well better have led people for a long time and proven success in doing that. So I don't care necessarily how we wordsmith that, but that, where it read no less than 10 years supervisor experience in a public works, wastewater, water related business required. To your point, the guy came out of managing a sports complex, but clearly was hired. So that's the kind of leadership we need and want. And, because to everyone's point, I think we've all danced on it. We have experts in DPW. We have experts in water. We have experts in wastewater that are going to be the go-to people within those, call it superintendent kind of roles. And this person is leading that, as well as, because I think above it, budgeting, presence in front of city council, all of these things is clearly articulated above it. And what we want here is to make sure that the person's coming with a minimum of 10 years of people leadership. Doesn't necessarily need to be in public works, doesn't even need to be in wastewater, but it needs to be, to me, in making sure they've been highly successful in leading people. So I don't care how we wordsmith that, but I don't think we need the focus on experience in public works, wastewater, water related required. I do like the 5 years as a department head, executive director, because they've got that elevated leadership there. But I like, I think that one there is, that they've been in a leadership role for a minimum of 5 years. But so anyway, I'll put it up to the group of how we want to kind of craft that.
The union piece, I'm hesitant on requiring, just because it eliminates the private sector, basically, so it cuts that candidate pool down. Not averse to saying preferred or recommended or anything like that, because it is a very important aspect of this job, and anybody coming in from the private side has to be eyes wide open about that part of it. So no issue highlighting that, but to require it might eliminate candidates from the pool off the bat.
I guess so. Would we all agree that if you struck in public works, wastewater, water related business required, and then put in experience within union environments desired, but so are we all in agreement that we could strike the public works, wastewater, water related business or enterprise required, but again, no less than 10 years supervisory experience is required, and comma, union experience desired, union leadership experience desired.
I think if we're going to keep the desired or preferred language, we might as well keep the field specific public works, wastewater, and water related.
So put that
It won't
as-
make it the requirement, but that is, this person doesn't need to be an expert,
No.
In any one field, water, wastewater, highway, whatever, but having a general background will certainly provide a tremendous value to the position,
So
just in their
basically,
informed decision making.
no less than 10 years supervisory and management experience required,
Yeah.
comma, experience in public works, wastewater, water related business or enterprise desired.
Yeah, and the union. I agree with the
Yeah.
union as well. Desired,
union.
but not preferred.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
a big
so it would
component of the
be-
position.
Right. Experience in public works, wastewater, water related business, and union leadership experience desired. Something like
And it's
that.
non-committal, but it kind of, I think it kind of leads on to those sorts of candidates, that's really what the department's looking for.
And are you getting a sense of what we're looking for in this? I'm assuming that your department's going to craft this.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. And yes, I will definitely make some revisions and get it out to all of you so that we can, before it would go to city council, that we can make sure that what you decide on tonight reflect the changes that I would make. I would definitely do that for you.
And how about the last sentence? Or the last section?
I think the previous sentence that we discussed covers that.
Okay.
If you've got the managerial experience,
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for. Obviously, again, it'd be great if this person was a department head or executive director, had that additional experience, but
I'm kind of looking at the sentence too, thinking, if you're saying department head, executive director, you're trying to draw somebody in a lateral move, maybe from a smaller community to the bigger community, but we've tried that twice, and you know what I mean? So to me, you might want to open the pool a little bit and say, and stick with the sentence we just worked out that I think keys in on the skills we're looking for, but
Mhm.
maybe doesn't scare people away in terms of that 5 years as a DPW director somewhere else is kind of how that reads to me. And that person hasn't shown up yet. So
Okay, no, I'm good with that. Tom, John, any?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me.
Yes.
All right. So, and obviously we can't obviously vote on a job description this evening, but I think if you can get something, I guess we probably want to get, well, anyway, so from my point of view, that clears at least a discussion around the job description. Is there anything further that we would like to add and or change from what's in the remainder of the job? I thought the body of it was quite good. I think it really illustrates what it is we're looking for. I felt most of the work was required in the education and experience piece. Now having it in front of you, are there any changes that anyone would like to make in the sections above what we just discussed?
Do we have to carry that language that is listed in the job environment and physical requirements? I thought we had talked about that before, but I know there's ability to work in small spaces, height, stairs. Is that just something with any public works related position we have to include that?
So I might be
think
able to
there's-
answer that question if you don't mind. Yes, with every job description, we have to list the job environment and physical requirements, not just DPW, it's citywide. Every job description should include some kind of information about what's required in terms of physical capabilities from individuals. So we have to include that for everybody.
Do we need that particular middle sentence, though? I think that's the one you're targeting, right, John?
Right, ability to work in adverse I mean, I just don't envision this person, working with an excavator.
I mean, if we're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about an MBA, we're not expecting the person to strap on a
Right,
respirator
it
and
just-
walk
and-
into.
And I thought we had discussed this before in one of these other iterations, but I just wanted to confirm that we have to carry that language, and if we don't, then that particular sentence, or those statements don't seem to add a lot of value to this. In my opinion.
I could be wrong, John, in my recollection, but I thought there used to be something in there about like foul odors or something
Right,
like that. And we got
right.
rid of that. But I know, I saw makes my recollection the same, but I also agree that middle sentence, that is not this person should not be doing that.
Exactly.
They're not going into the trench. They're not making, repairs. They're not going into confined spaces, whatever. They're not doing that.
And can we strike that?
If you're pretty comfortable that those are not going to be requirements for the position, but if there's any possibility that they might at some point have to do those things, then I would suggest leaving it in.
I mean, the only one that I think that is glaring is obviously the climb stairs, right? That
Sure,
seems like
right.
it's way too, but I mean, that's like way too broad. You gotta climb stairs to get up to your office in the DPW.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I don't necessarily
know.
mind ability to work in adverse conditions simply because, yeah, this is our DPW director. They are a
Sure, yeah.
frontline, person, but maybe it's small spaces I'm keying in on. I don't need this person to present with confined space entry training. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yep, exactly.
or honestly at heights, like this person's
Right.
not climbing a
They can
tank.
be on a tank,
you know,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I'd be okay like moving ability to work in adverse conditions up, must work outdoors as needed regardless of weather, ability to work in adverse conditions,
Exactly. Yep.
required to attend evening meetings, just to capture the essence of, no, you can't sit in your
Sure.
office all the time.
Right,
But no, we're also not expecting you to do the sewer manhole inspections. So
right.
Good call.
a kind of a side comment, because this wouldn't be as related to attracting somebody, but I do know that this job description will live on and will become kind of a basis of the individual's duties. One thing I'd like to see more, and I think we are seeing it more now, but the continued kind of working of DPW and engineering together. Engineering is its own department in Westfield, which is different than a lot of communities, but the city works better when everybody's rowing in the same direction. So I don't know if we can add a sentence to, in this job description about basically a requirement to, stay in coordination or something with the city engineer, so that the job description, does bind a little bit of that coordination into the job. I don't know if there's a way to say that, correctly in this job posting, but it just kind of ensure that there don't end up being silos or walls that go up between two kind of departments that need to be working in concert with each other for Westfield to really be what it should.
Honestly, we used to see it a lot with Mark, right? He would always come to our John and
Right.
Ron, our commission meetings, and he'd see like the complete streets approach, right? And trying to like, hey, we're doing a major project here. You guys want to get anything done? Now's a good time to do it. Economy
Yep.
scale for the city, get it all done at once. So yeah, I would agree with Alex. It's if that's, I guess, appropriate to word in the job description, because there's inherent value to the city if that is that kind of, teamwork and communication is happening.
I mean, I guess I hope that we don't end up hiring an individual that says that's not my job description, but the possibility exists that
Sure.
we could ask them to coordinate with the engineer and they could say that's not I don't have to deal with that department. You know what I mean? So that's what I just want to make sure we're backstopping that possibility in the future. And again, I'd hope we'd sniff that type of attitude out in an interview and we wouldn't hire a person that had those qualities, but things change over time as well. So
Well, maybe we can tweak the language in the general statement, that introductory paragraph to,
It's actually there. And I think we could make it a little sharper.
yep,
On page 2, just above additional requirements, I think that paragraph gets to what you're talking about, Alex. Or at least it could be
yeah,
It could be better written to serve as one of the city's
Oh, yeah,
resources and expertise. So I think that paragraph could be reworded to basically create, so you've got a collaboratively work across all departments, including, engineering to, you know what I mean? I think it's in that paragraph where we can
yep,
make sure
you could
that's
broaden,
clear.
or, right, we could tweak that, and, yeah, that would definitely,
And you see that was on page 2 above. So tweak that paragraph that it's really more direct and develop an implementation of Public Works Department goals. It's really ensure alignment across all functions, including engineering, with department goals, or however you want to spin that.
Okay.
But that's the spirit of that, to kind of tweak that paragraph.
that would address it for me. Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion on job description? Okay, so let me ask a question before we talk about, well, let's see, clearly we've done this 3 times now. Have we considered at all the usage of potentially a recruiter to fill this position? Because I don't think, I don't know, I'm posing a question because I don't think we've gotten the quality of candidate that we would have hoped. And I don't know if actually using recruiter, headhunter, whatever we want to call that person, would be beneficial in this respect, given the amount of time we spent on this. Have we ever used a recruiter in the past for any roles of this nature in the city?
I don't know that we have, at least not in my experience, but I don't know.
In private sector, you guys have a lot of experience in public works. Generally, have we had instances where we have used recruiter in private sector to fill a role of this nature? Or fill a role of this, call it, responsibility?
I'm not aware of municipalities. I'm just not aware of municipalities' inner workings in terms of how this position is fulfilled besides the way it's been currently advertised. I know the private sector uses recruiters.
A
Lot.
Yes.
lot.
Yes. Aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not familiar with it. It's just, I just don't know.
I'm just posing it as a question because I don't, clearly, we've done this 3 times and not had much success. I feel that it's fairly compensated, at least what it was when in the last iteration. I don't know if that's where we're planning going forward, but I'm just posing that as a thought.
Where does this end up getting advertised other than the city website?
I think that's an Ian question.
And I,
I'm not,
Go
I'm
ahead,
not,
Ann.
I'm not sure where it was posted last time. We used Indeed. And I would probably look to, there's it might have been posted on the Massachusetts Municipal Association website, MMA. We belong to that. So we may have utilized that resource as well. I would look to some additional sites. I haven't done the research quite yet on where else to go, but I would probably look for some additional sites as well. I do have some money for advertising, so I would want to post it a little bit better than just our website and Indeed.
For reference, in terms of compensation, to Ron's point, what I'm finding, I don't know if this was the Holyoke job description that ended up being the description that was used to hire the director, because it's dated in March of last year, but their range was 85,900 to 102,000. So it's a significant increase from what that position was offering. Again, I didn't go through the total job description and what the responsibilities were, but it was a DPW director. So I think the compensation is there.
Mhm.
What are we, do we have a value set on ours right now?
It was 140, Alex.
Okay, so
Mike, well, that was the upper end. Let's just say
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know. Yeah, exactly.
it was 140. I want to say it was anywhere from 125 to 140 was where we were, call it
all right.
spitball.
So it's not like we're lowballing this.
No.
With the advertisement thing, there's the Public Works Association, APWA, that then goes down to the county highway organizations. That'd be a good place to make sure this makes it out to. And there's also, you can promote it on LinkedIn and stuff like that to have it floating around, but
I think the job environment now is a little bit looser than what it was on the last go round. I'm speculating, probably because I left it. Sorry. I can say that because I did my time. But at the end of the day, so Ian, I guess our hope would be that we have a little broader reach in terms of where we would be trying to solicit candidates from. And again, that was kind of my question about potentially recruitment, leveraging recruiting. But I would just say that we just generally haven't had a really good flow in the last two iterations, and we hope will be better.
We must have relationships with neighboring communities, or even communities in Massachusetts, that we can reach out to. And, these positions, they're not all, 20, 30-year positions. I'm sure people have done this in the recent past that we could reach out to and see what made them successful.
Okay. So the second to last item is a creation of a preliminary screening committee of the candidates that we would have post for the role. I'm going to pose it to the group. What's the group's position or position on what the screening committee should look like? I'll tell you mine. Go ahead, Joe.
No, you can go first if you want. I was just going to say Dave. I know Dave has been involved in the past. I'm not sure what kind of value Dave has provided in the search. When he originally retired a couple of years ago, he made it sound like he had a pulse on the field.
I'll be very transparent. I reached out to Dave, and at this point, I don't believe he has an interest in doing it.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in that, but folks could potentially try to influence if they feel so fit. But I had a conversation with Dave, and he didn't seem to want to do it on this go around.
How about Mark?
interesting. I hadn't thought about Mark. I like the idea. I don't know if Mark would have an interest. And I think Mark has certainly a good point of view. Might have a bit of a bias towards engineering, but that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, fresh perspective.
And clearly would have objectivity because he really doesn't have any skin in that game anymore. So, which is good. So I think that's a great idea, Joe. At an absolute minimum, I believe we need one member from each of the boards to serve on the screening committee. And I certainly would ask you to be on that as well. I mean, how large a committee do we think we need? Ann?
I think last time it was, one person from each board and the personnel director and I mean a citywide department head might be a good idea. Somebody who works in conjunction with Public Works might be a good idea. And then I think last time it was Dave's. So I mean, maybe somebody, working in the field. I mean, that would probably be a good mix. I would say, when you're looking for a committee, though, you do want an odd number just for
Yep.
that voting matter. So that might be something to keep in mind.
So we have 3 locks. Call it one from each of the boards, and you, Ann, correct?
Yes.
Can I ask a potentially, a sidetrack question here, but so the process we're going to go through, we hired a conservation coordinator a couple times while I was on that commission, but I don't know, it seemed to be different each time. So, the screening committee is going to go through and evaluate initial candidates and then recommend multiple candidates for interview with the joint board. Is that the idea?
Yes, I believe they would be conducting preliminary interviews and then recommending finalists to go forward before the joint board.
Okay. And those are all public meetings, those preliminary interviews. And so is obviously the final interviews. No,
the preliminary interview is not a public meeting.
Okay.
I would double check with the city solicitor, but that would be a private meeting. If we only have 2 members of this joint board, there's no quorum, so therefore it's not a public meeting. And then we have the issue of confidentiality. Those individuals, because they're not finalists, are guaranteed privacy, so their names are not released. So that is a confidential meeting.
Okay.
And one-on-one, correct, Ann? Meaning one on committee.
Correct. Yes, one at a time. Yep.
All right. Sorry about that. I just
No,
wanted
no.
to make sure I was clear on that before we talked about which pieces were going where.
That's a good question, Alex.
So it sounds like though it's only one from each board on the screening committee. And if Ann's involved and if you do pull in Mark, Dave's already said he doesn't want to, we need to come up with one other person to make it an odd number. Alternately, it's 2 members here and Ann, and that's the committee.
So from, you suggested a department head. Do we have someone that within the city that could sit in that role, or that would be suitable for that role? Do you believe?
You've got the related department heads are, planning and engineering and maybe even community development. So PJ and Jay and Allison, or you can go the legal side and ask Shanna to sit in on it or something along those lines. Or you could ask someone new in a business management role within the city to sit in. I guess it depends what skill set you want to check.
I mean, Allison's relatively new, correct?
Yeah.
I like the idea of PJ. I wonder if PJ would be willing to do it. Clearly has a business side of it. I think that's kind of what we're looking for, is somebody that has that bias, call it.
The other side of it is, the DPW department is very large. I mean, is it the largest, or is the school department the largest?
School, I think.
Second largest. I don't know if you want to play the size game and look for the management type person, but PJ's probably got that business acumen, like you're saying, more of that vision.
So if clearly Mark would be, if we don't get Mark, if Mark isn't willing to do it, and Mark certainly, I'm not going to speak what I think. We would need two, because clearly we want either a 3 or a 5. I think five is better. Gives us more breadth, which is probably what we would like. So, and I don't know if you can try to get feelers out from a department head standpoint, see who would be willing. It sounds like we would like to get potentially PJ, and who would it? And would you be soliciting Mark as well?
Yes, I can get in touch with those individuals.
Okay.
So I don't mean to interject here, but I think what I would suggest is not actually voting on a selection of a committee tonight.
Mhm.
We're obviously going to have to come back together again once we revise the job description and you guys have agreed that it's okay. We'll have to come back to vote on that. So that will give me some time to be able to pull up some individuals that you're recommending here to see if they're interested in it. So we can, you can maybe vote on that at another time.
That would be great. I think if we could close those two gaps in our next meeting, I think that would be ideal. So if we could, have a list of potential candidates that have interest and would be willing to do it. And I think, even purchasing, I think it's just getting some breadth to the committee and some different points of view. And then within the next meeting, 1, vote on the revisions to the job description, and 2, vote on potential candidates that we could, that you could at least solicit for their willingness to serve in this capacity. All right. Any further discussion on screening committee? And the last one, I think it's, and I don't know if you were here at that point. The screening questions we had for the last interview session, I thought were very good. So, I would be more than willing to make a motion to delegate the creation of the questions to the personnel department, because again, I was very satisfied with what we received for the last set of interviews. If you want, well, being the chairman, I can't motion, but I'll let somebody else. Unless there's an objection. Okay. Motion me.
Someone that's read those questions, make the motion.
They would be different, Alex, to be clear, that
Okay.
the screening are going to be the same, but we are delegating the creation of those to the personnel department.
Okay. Well, I'll give you that motion then, Ron.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? I'll take a roll call. John Nadolski,
Yes.
Joe Papalarczyk,
Yes.
Alex for Hagman.
Bagnan. Yes.
Tom Pereira. And I
Yes.
screwed it up again. And Ron
Closer,
Coley.
you're getting closer, Ron.
There's too many vowels, Tom. Sorry. There's too many damn
A lot of
vowels.
vowels.
All right. Any further discussion on this evening? All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:55 PM?
I'll give you that motion.
Motion.
I'll second Tom's motion.
Okay. Roll call. John Nadolski,
Yes.
Joe Papalarzik,
Yes.
Alex Fagnan,
Yes.
Tom Pereira.
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 It's only one eye.
He threw in too many vowels.
And
There's
yes,
a couple of E's. And that was a yes, right? Tom?
yes, sir.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.